Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the Funtopia playthrough. Now in the last episode we started off with basically finishing the first half of the park, the one that's on the entrance side of the highway. And this one we're going to be continuing on with the park and moving on to the next side of the highway. So yeah, to start off with, I just finished off a few little bits and pieces on the first side. I had a few little gaps to fill out first. I wanted to make sure that was all polished off before moving on to the next bit. Yeah, there's just a few more bits of fence work and some trees to fill out. Yeah, had a really good name suggestion for the steel mini coaster. Ended up calling it Little Raisin, which was an awesome suggestion from Ryan. It matches the grapevine theme perfectly and very suitable for a kids sort of coaster. So thanks very much for that. You guys have given me some great name suggestions recently, so it's something I'm not too good at, so I really appreciate any help I can get. But yeah, anyway, the main aim, as I said before for this episode, is to expand the park on the top side of the park, on the other side of the highway. To start off with, I just do a similar sort of pathing system to match the first side of the park, and I also go with a GCI style woody, which I ended up calling trellis. Now, trellis is a structure used to support the foliage and growth of vines in vineyards, and they're often made out of wood, so I thought that was pretty fitting. I really like how the coaster itself turned out. The key with these sorts of GCR style coasters, for me anyway, is to avoid making them too rectangular like a traditional wooden coaster might be. So this means lots of diagonal track, a couple of helixes, sweeping turns, but also having lots of like left to right transitions where possible. So I think that's probably one of the most important things to do, is make sure you're not constantly doing right or left turns. It's like back and forth each way. So then I jump on to the next coaster, which is a booster launched looping coaster, or steel coaster as it is in RCT1. It took me a while to figure out what to do there, but I really like what I came up with. I was going to go with a conventional kind of chain lift, but the booster section actually helped to keep the coaster quite compact. I had a great suggestion for the steel mini coaster from Heartline Coaster, which is a really good YouTube channel. You should definitely go and check that out. The suggestion was Rage and Raisin, which may be a bit too much for a kid's coaster. I think it implies a little bit more intensity, but I ended up using that name for the looping coaster here, and I thought it was perfect. So yeah, thanks again for that suggestion. That was a great one. Yeah, again, really happy with how this one turned out. It's really compact, but managed to squeeze in a looping and then get some track through the vertical loop. And yeah, the diagonal track I think it looks really good here. It just, there's lots of little overlaps and lots of little neat little twisted sections. So yeah, very happy with how that turned out. It's luckily with the turnaround after the loop, I'm able to build some track underneath the highway. So it's actually just a nice 270 degree turn underneath the highway there, so that worked out pretty well. I do some kind of basic theming around here. I wasn't going for anything in particular. Maybe with the few rows of bushes there, I was kind of going for, somewhat of a vineyard or a fruit farm sort of feel, but really it was just basic rock work and a few shrubs and bushes around the place there. So yeah, I made a kind of basic station building, which worked out pretty well. But then so after I was done working on the coaster here, I went back and made more of a complete kind of station building. Actually, I didn't like how the queue line was exposed, and yeah, thought it made it look a little bit more sensible. I tried my best to get some kind of windows in the building to make it look a little bit more realistic. Go back and do some basic groundwork on the underneath the wooden coaster. I think it's pretty important to make sure that you have kind of visible support structure underneath the track. Sometimes it doesn't look that great when the track just looks like it's sitting on the ground. So it's I think it's worth just lowering the ground underneath the track there. Makes it look a little bit more realistic. So then I move on to the other side of the path, I guess, and I move the Ferris wheel back a little bit just so I can get the kind of the sound barrier using the trees, kind of like the other side. Kind of deck out the area with more shrubs and rearrange those food stalls which I had from part 1, where I just placed a few stalls randomly there just to keep the guests happy. So I finally moved them around a little bit and made it look like a decent little food court. I go in and build an RCT1 style bridge across the highway, as I wasn't really a fan of how low it was, and I was just thinking from a realism perspective that like any trucks that are going along that highway, they would have had no chance of clearing that. So I raised the height of the path a little bit and used some suspended swinging coaster track as well as some steel mini coaster track to make a kind of wooden suspension bridge, I guess. Also just used some of the chairlift cables to hide some of the supports from the path. Doesn't look super convincing, but I think it was a lot better than it was before. Then the final thing was I just added in some space rings, which I really don't use that often. They look kind of cool sometimes, I guess. They're real vomit machines sometimes, well, all the time, but they worked out really nicely there and they fit in quite well. Anyway, that's going to be just about it for the episode. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.